Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. Uh, we are here live and direct. We're going to go ahead and run this intro. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back. And tonight was going to be the Three Musketeers holding it down. We have the awesome Katrina Taylor all the way from New York.
Good evening.
Oh man. And we have the wonderful Shanetta McNair just a little bit away across town.
Out here in Lawrenceville.
Well, listen, that's all the way too if you
Right.
compared to my house.
Yeah.
And I am Samantha. Oh, hi, honey bunny. Hey, Lisa, thanks for joining us. So, okay, tonight, oh, this thing's driving me crazy. All right. So, my thought for tonight, so many times I hear people, they're like, oh, I'd be doing this if it wasn't for this. They always gotta, if it wasn't for. It's always something stopping them, There's always something. Hey, Denise, thanks for joining us. Good evening to you. They always have an excuse. It's always something in their way. There's an obstacle. There's an adversary. If it wasn't for this, I'd be this, and this stopped me, and I was gonna be in the NFL and in college. Whatever it is, like always a million things. So it got me to thinking, like, without adversities, yes, or an adversary, without any obstacles. Let's just make it easy since I'm messing up that word. Without any obstacles, who would you be? Would you be the same person? Would you be better off? Would you be worse off? No obstacles. Let's take away consequences. No consequences. Would you still be who you are? Would you be better or worse? Um, so that's kind of what we wanted to talk about. Like I said, I hear people all the time. They have all these reasons why they can't, do stuff. Sometimes it's, racial. Sometimes it's, because women, they don't want women to be on top, because I'm this, I can't do this, or they won't let me, or whatever the deal is. So we just want to explore if there was no obstacles, who do you think you would be? So Shanetta, you look like you want to jump right in there.
Let me just say, I'm going to say the serious part first.
Okay.
I think that adversity and things that we bump into in life makes the man, it makes the woman, it makes the person. So let me just throw that out there before I say this. However, comma,
Okay.
if there were no adversity, no consequence, no none of that, I would be a hot mess. Let me just go ahead and put that out there. Like, y'all wouldn't even like me. I don't think y'all would know how to deal with me at all because I would just be like, I mean, because I'm better than y'all.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just, I would be a hot mess, which is why the Lord has probably allowed adversity to come into my life to kind of knock me down a few pegs and make sure that I'm not walking around here thinking I'm better than everybody else. So back to being serious. I do think adversity makes the man, makes the person, makes the woman. I think that we learn things through our trials, our tribulation, our difficulties in life. The things that come up against us teach us so much. that I do think that they're good for you and that it's good to go through hard things. But if I didn't have to go through a whole lot of the things that I went through, I would take it all the way back to childhood. I probably would have been a millionaire's daughter. Um, because I mean, my dad wouldn't have had adversity, right? So he would have been a millionaire, which means that I wouldn't have had to work, which means that, I would definitely probably be walking around thinking that I'm better than everybody else. And walking around like, but my dad is a millionaire, so I don't understand why you're saying no to me. Because no doesn't exist in my world because my dad can buy that. So I probably wouldn't be married to Michael McNair because unless, no adversity in his life, then, he would probably be a millionaire too. And then, it would have worked out perfectly. And, I don't know. I don't know how this would have all panned out. We wouldn't have been in the same circles. I don't.
Wait a minute. Was that your husband I heard in the background?
He laughing at something else, I think. I don't think he laughing at me. He could be laughing at me. I have no idea. But I do think back. I think back to this time in my life. I guess I had to be in about middle school, and I think it's when I first noticed that there had been no black presidents, and my intent was to be the first black female president of the United States of America.
Okay.
I was going to be this amazing attorney, and then I was going to go be a judge, and then I was going to become the president miraculously. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but like that was my plan. I was in like maybe middle school. And I don't think adversity changed my my plan. I think it was just kind of life and the way life panned out that kind of directed me in a different direction. But it could have been some adversities. I don't even remember what changed my mind. I just remember in high school at some point I decided, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. And that was just that. But I do know that without adversity in my way, I wouldn't have gone to the school that I went to. I would have gone to a different college. And that adversity was money. Like I couldn't afford it, or at least I thought I couldn't afford it. So I didn't go. I was dead set on going to Howard. And I was moving to DC and I was about to live the Washington, DC life. Maybe I would have been Olivia Pope. I don't know. But like I was going to DC to like live my life. And about a week before I was supposed to go, they sent me my balance due. And I was like, my parents don't have that kind of money. So I guess I'm gonna be going to school here in Atlanta. Don't really know how that's gonna, happen either, but we're not traveling anywhere because I don't have any money. I didn't have a plane ticket. I had nothing. Really wasn't prepared. Now that I think more about it, like I didn't even have transportation to get there. So there's that. But without adversity, I probably would have gone a different route, and it probably would have changed the entire um plan of my life, like the way my life would have gone. I don't know where it would have led me, but I do think that it would be very, very different. But I did say this the other day, and I don't know what we were talking about. I was like, I don't know. God intended for us to be together. So, McNair probably would have ended up in DC somewhere and we would have met there. Like, so, it would have worked out still. But I do feel like things would have been a little different had I not allowed the money to stop me from going to DC way back in the 90s when I graduated high school.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one plan, one thought that I had.
Trina?
Who would I be? Well, let's look at me. You see my locks and my glasses. I'd be Katanji. Hello, I'd be on the Supreme Court. You see what I'm saying? You see it. You see it.
I see it. I
You
see
see
it.
it.
I
I could have went to Harvard if I didn't have the money. I mean, if I had the money,
Mhm.
I could have went to Harvard. Then I could have, followed the path, and I could have been Katanji. I guess I got the locks. I got the glasses. Okay, so seriously, I think that I may have turned out as someone who maybe looked at life with more an eye of privilege and entitlement had I not gone through a lot of the things that I went through. Um, but like adversity teaches you, like you were saying, Shanetta, and it makes you compassionate. It gives you so much compassion. Because when you start going through stuff, that judgment kind of goes out the window because you're just like, yeah, because I know what that feels like. And I know how hard the struggle is. It's just like, you know, maybe if I wasn't a single parent, maybe I would be looking like, oh, you're a single mom, you're a teenage, mom or whatever. And, because maybe that would have been my attitude. But child, going through it is hard. And I have compassion for people who are going through things, who've gone through loss. Um, and some of the things you go through, the things you struggle, especially your struggles, like things that you have to pray to get out of, things that you're just like, Lord, I need your help because, the good that I would, but I'm still struggling and I'm trying, but and I keep finding myself with the can't help it, as they used to say back in the day. Um, and so when you see somebody dealing with something like addiction or whatever they're struggling with, and really, you're like, I get it. Like I know what it's like to, you know, be 90 days clean and have to start all over. Or you know what I mean? Or whatever the case may be. So it's just like your adversities really teach you compassion, and you don't really want to be trying to judge people because you're like, listen, I can't judge nobody because I know where I've been and I know what I've been through, and I know how hard it is to struggle, to start over, um, and really just keep trying and pushing through. So I feel like without adversity, it's kind of that hot mess, man. I'll probably be looking down on people or whatever, or not having a heart of compassion or understanding towards people, um, after having gone through so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, like this was my topic, and like, I mean, some things I don't even really, I don't know. I think of some things as this is just, it's just life. Like, like I don't always think of stuff like in terms of adversity. I just feel like this is life. This is what it is. And, I kind of got to just power through it. Um, I think I would, and I know this is probably going to sound bad, I think I would probably be incredibly soft and probably overly sensitive. Me personally. Because I think, um, like, I guess the hard or aggressiveness of me mostly comes from, just having that power through it kind of attitude. Having that, I'm not going to let this beat me type of attitude. So I feel like without those adversities, I'd just be soft. Like,
Right.
I like be crying all the time. Like, oh, I don't want to. It's just so hard. Like, um, but because there's, it seems like there's always the next mountain to climb. Um, it's kind of like you kind of got to just put your big girl shoes on and keep trekking, or at least that's kind of how I think about it. So for me, I think adversity definitely would have made me soft, soft and probably really sensitive. Um, and I think in some ways weak. And like I said, this is just me personally. Um, weak minded. Like, how, I don't know, just real naive to a lot of things. Because I think sometimes when you haven't experienced a lot, you can be naive because you don't really know what it is. You don't really understand all the intricacies of things. So I think, yeah, definitely naive and weak. That's how I feel I would be without the things that I've gone through. Um, and of course, they were hard, and especially when you're going through something, it's you don't see the other side of it. You
Right.
don't see that you're ever going to get to a place where it feels like it doesn't hurt.
Right.
When you're going through it, it's like this is gonna hurt forever. Um, so yeah, you can kind of, I don't know, get lost in that. I will say, Trina, I heard you say like it makes me more compassionate. I think like for me it's almost the opposite. Like sometimes I see like stuff that people be like, "Oh, that's so hard," and I be like you can power through that. I don't know if it's like I'm uncompassionate, or
Mhm.
if it's just like like I got through it, you could get through it too. Like kind of. That's kind of how I look at things sometimes. And although I realize everybody's different and everybody deals with stuff differently, sometimes I'm just like okay, just shake it off and keep moving. Like, I mean, even in my head, I don't necessarily say that to people, even though sometimes I might want to. But, like, I just kind of feel like, if God can drag me through it, like, I know He could drag you through it. I know He could pull you through it if you're just kind of willing to allow the process to happen. I don't know. Jeanette, you like you was about to say something.
I, I would definitely agree with that. And I mean, just from how I think we all three started off, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like our opinion is that adversity is kind of what turned us into the people
Right,
that we've become, and kind of wouldn't trade that because,
right,
like, I mean, it's some stuff I would want better for me. It's some things that I would want differently. If I could have millions and millions on top of millions of dollars in the bank right now, I would absolutely take that without consequence if I possibly could. But I think the truth of the matter is that we know that that's what builds the character of a person.
right,
It's what takes a person from being, whether it's compassionate or whether it's kind of like looking at people like, come on, like you got to get through this, you got to do better. um Whichever side of it is, I think it's what makes us who, it kind of is what gives us that extra flavor, in life in general. Like, I mean, you get to be the seasoned person that you are because of what you've experienced and because of what you've learned and what you've gone through. Because even children have consequence and adversity, and if they don't get the consequences of experiences that they go through, they become horrible people.
right,
um and we all know it. Like, if a kid steals a cookie and nobody ever teaches them that stealing is wrong, I mean, today it's a cookie, tomorrow is somebody's purse,
right.
next week what is it going to be, so it just kind of, there has to be some sense of consequence, and adversity that we do experience in order to learn things. But if I could remove all those things and have all the things that I so desire, yeah, I would probably be a mess. It's a couple of things. Like, I talk about how if I could sing, I would be a hot mess. Child, yeah. Because if I could sing, like, y'all, it wouldn't be nothing y'all could do with me, right? Like, nothing at all. Like, I would probably be singing everything. Like how my family members get on my nerves because they can all sing and they be walking around here humming and singing and whistling and everything all day long. I would be way worse than all of them. Way worse. I would be singing everything. Y'all would ask me a question, I would just be singing my answers. I would be a mess.
But I think, like, I heard what you said about the millions and millions. And don't get me wrong, everybody would like to just have some extra dollars floating around. Like, I think most of the time that's like a universal kind of thing. But I
Mhm.
think, too, though, it would, I don't think you would have found your purpose. Like, because if you had
Right.
millions, you wouldn't be a teacher. So
Nope.
all the
Told a
little,
kid
right,
that today.
right,
I
all
literally
the,
told a kid that today. He said, Miss McNair, I heard rumor has it that you have $1 million. I said, baby, if I had $1 million, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. And he just looked at me. I said, I'm so serious. I said, but I will buy you lunch. And he knew within my heart and my soul that I was so serious.
right. So like all the impact, of the kids that you have made, like all that goes away. So like just think about the amount of kids, that even some that maybe haven't really um process the gravity of your words. You know how like in church they say you'll get this at 3 o'clock. They probably gonna be 25 before they be like, Miss McNair sure told me the truth all them years ago. That the delayed impacts. Just
Mm-hmm.
think of how that those things wouldn't exist. And I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
Trina, you getting them early. You starting with babies, and babies were working parents. And sometimes when my kids was little and I was working, when you get home, sometimes you forget the hugs all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't, not intentionally, but sometimes you're just tired. So think of the extra love that you're giving to the little babies every
Yeah.
day. Them extra hugs and that extra, little time. Like those things mean a lot to kids. And even though, like I said, it's that delayed impact. Like later on, they may feel more secure and not be so shy or so scary, and you can trace those things back to at different points when your life was impacted. Like even I think about myself and things, like in my past, like as many as adversities as I've had, I've also had those impactful moments. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think about even winding up in your dad's church. Like we got there because of adversity. Like we wind up there because everything spun out of control and fast. And but at the same time, like, I found lifelong friends. We still talk about the messages, the lifelong messages that even now in my 40s, I remember from being a teenager. So I think about the adversity, but also it's kind of like, God managed to put a little sugar on your medicine at the same time, in some areas. And so I was thinking about that because I guess if you remove the adversities, you remove the sugar part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that now that you carry with you, you wouldn't have those experiences either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, although you said, Samantha, that you don't think that you have compassion, but it actually is having compassion when you're able to encourage someone when you've been through something, and you can say, "Oh, girl, no, I've been through that. You can get through this." You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you're not having compassion because you're not saying, "Oh, don't worry." If you're saying, "Listen, you got this.
Right.
I've been there. I did it. You can do it too." That's, to me, that's having compassion because you're relating, you're relatable, and when they look at you and be like, "Oh, you went through that too." When I tell you, it's such a life changing thing because um, when I was going through grief, when my husband first passed away, I had my daughter in, she was in like music and art therapy. And um, during the time when the children would go and do their art and singing and all that stuff, the parents would sit in a different room and we just talk. And that was the most impactful thing at that time because I got to hear other parents talking about how they were dealing with the loss of their husband or wife or parent or whatever, and how they were dealing with their children. And that was the most impactful thing, just to hear other people say what they were going through.
Right.
Like it made such a difference. Like, oh, I'm not alone. And there were people who were further along in it, and they were like, "Girl, listen, don't even worry about that because we've been there, you'll make it. That meant so much. So sometimes you're going through something, you don't know why, but maybe it's to bring somebody else through, So just being able to relate to someone and to share with someone and let them know you got this or whatever, it means so much. Absolutely.
I love that. I love because I mean, a lot of times you do hear how people say, "Oh, it's your testimony. It's going to help somebody else." Your testimony. You don't feel like that when
Mm.
you're
Right.
experiencing your tough situation. You like, who? How am I help somebody?
Right.
Right, right.
What? Like, I can't even help myself right now. Like, how am I going to help anybody get through anything? And they're like, you just have to hold on. But later, when you have the opportunity to really think back on it, or when you do get a chance to share with somebody and say, hey, yeah, I've been through that too. This is how I got through it. Your situation might be different than mine. But maybe something I can say can help you, or maybe this can help you, or not even knowing sometimes. I think a lot of times we just kind of, we share, we experience things, people watch us, and we never have to say a word. Sometimes people watch how you go through things, and then they remember, well, when Trina went through that, when Sam went through that, I remember I would see them, and that let me, see if I can, try out what I think they were trying out, or whatever the case may be. um so I definitely, I think that's super encouraging to know, even though when you're experiencing your adverse situation, it's like, why? What is it for? What is the purpose? And I
Right,
think I've
right,
heard someone say one time, it was years after their situation, and they were like, I still don't understand
right.
why I went through.
Mhm.
And I think that it was really because they were really supposed to be a person to, to support other people in similar situations, but they hadn't fully recognized the purpose of it yet. They hadn't been able to kind of find it themselves. And sometimes you may not find it yourself. It just may be you just need to, you're just that person, even though you don't know that that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I totally agree. So yeah, so like I said in the beginning, I hear people all the time, and it's just always something else that's stopping you from being who you think you want to be or who you think you should be. And um, you know, for myself, even with all the adversity, I feel like it made me who I am for a reason. And even though sometimes, like you said, Shanetta, sometimes that reason isn't always understood or even received well by
Mhm.
all. But there are those times when I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what I was made for. Like this is, right here is this is where it matters. So I think it's important sometimes not to get totally sidetracked by the adversity, but rather focus on what you'll get from it, like what you're gonna get out of this situation. Will it better you? Will it increase your knowledge? Will it increase your strength? I think sometimes just refocusing and not just looking at the storm that's coming. Maybe the storm is gonna clear a path for something new. I think if we refocus, it makes it easier kind of to deal with. It's because
Mhm.
when you look at something and it's big and it's scary, all you see is that it's big and it's scary.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a different angle, sometimes it makes all the difference. So
Mhm.
I'll say take the adversity and instead of it being a block, something that's blocking you, climb over it. Use it as a building block. Don't let it cause you to fall or get stuck. Sometimes you got to dig your way out. Sometimes you got to work your way around or, dig a tunnel underneath. But don't let it stop you and don't miss the lesson that might be on the other side of it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to make you a worse person. It can make you better. It could
Mhm.
really be for your better. It might be rough. It will be rough. There are going to be times where it's going to be extremely rough. There are going to be times where it's going to be extremely hard.
Right.
Like Trina said, there's somebody that's been through it. There's somebody that has made it to the other side. Don't be afraid to share. Sometimes in your sharing and your willingness to open up, you'll find an answer that you didn't see before. So
Hmm.
I just want to encourage people, adversity does not have to stop you. It does not have to cripple you. It does not have to make you any less than or keep anything from you. Sometimes there's a purpose. Sometimes we're going in the wrong direction. This is a redirect. You know how your GPS says, calculating. You might
Right.
need to calculate where you think you
Absolutely.
should be and where God intends for you to be may not be the same place.
Right.
So, those are some things that you can and should consider. So we hope we said something to encourage you or just to change your focus a little bit. Maybe your angle was a little bit off, and hopefully, we were able to help you shift it a little bit. We are on every Tuesday at 8:30 until May. Then in May, starting May, I don't know what the date is. Starting May 5th. Oh, Cinco de Mayo. We will be on every Thursday at 8 p.m. We will be shifting our day and time in May to 8 p.m. on Thursday. Um, so, guys, stay tuned, stay connected. We appreciate all your support. Lisa, thank you. It is always nice to see you come through. We appreciate you. So, until next week, guys, stay safe.